So since that, let's give about the 1214. Once it's 1220, the rest are not. good morning. I think we can start. We can start.
Yes, Doc.
All right. So yesterday we tried looking at the five important rules that every instructor will have to play. This is the lesson preparation. In the preparation, all resources that are required for the class must be what? Organized and brought to the student. Activities are also employed to facilitate instruction and
Hello, Doc.
yes, can you hear me?
No,
About the rest, are they hearing me?
No,
Oh, please.
we can hardly hear you, sir.
But no one was actually alerting me. Is it okay?
right now it's
Is it,
okay, but I don't know because it was just we will hear you in a faint way, then it's go back.
I can hear you very well. Anyway, that's fine. So when there is a break in communication,
Okay, Doc.
instructor, and I'm on the lesson delivery. So I said that with the lesson delivery, the teacher must ensure that content is delivered or transmitted to the student in the most accessible way, in the most simplest way, using the teacher's pedagogical content and knowledge. So we expect that as a management teacher here, you look at all your strategies, your techniques, your methods, your activities that drive the lesson. In fact, we are looking at a systematic delivery of the lesson. And let me stress it again. A systematic delivery of the lesson. Most often than not, we give so much of a confused lesson and people are not able to follow through as to what the teacher is teaching. It is your responsibility to ensure that your lessons are well sequenced from the simplest activity to the complex activity because it is throughout this process that the sub competencies that there are to be achieved in the content can be achieved. And so the teacher systematically deliver the lesson employing the various methods of teaching, of which we will be looking at them, as whether it's a guided discussion, as whether it's a discussion, as whether it is what a case, a method, simulation, or whatsoever. The next is evaluation, and that happens to do with assessment of what? A learner's learning. So we are looking at assessment in terms of formative, assessment in terms of summative. Formative is ongoing as the lesson is being what? Executed. Now we are talking about reflective practice, where the teacher evaluates himself in the course of instruction to see as whether the learning is having some kind of impact on the learner. So it is not when you finish teaching that you give some exercises and the learners are not able to actually produce results, and then that means that so much instructional time wasted. So that one will not at least be so good. As a management teacher, you know that we talk about three types of control: the feed forward control, the concurrent control, and the feedback control. So it means that by feed forward, you yourself have placed mechanisms to ensure that you will use to track student learning. So you know exercises, questions, tasks that you will let your students will engage themselves in during the course of instruction in order to gauge their level of what learning. And so you will not come to class without thinking of the sort of task, the sort of activity that you will use to gauge their learning. You will need to think about that as part of what your feed forward control. Then in the teaching, the teacher will have to monitor himself or herself as well as that of the student as part of what assessment. So you assess yourself and assess the student as you are teaching. So most often than not, when we interact with students and we teach and say certain things and they do not appreciate what we are saying, they tend to show some kind of what reaction by way of disfiguring their faces, by way of being sad, to communicate to us that what we said didn't go down well with them. A teacher who is very sensitive and monitoring the entire classroom environment will know that it is A and B and C that I said that actually yielded that kind of what reaction. The teacher will automatically switch method or use meta language to deliver that idea, that content, that created that kind of what unacceptable reaction. This is part of evaluation. So it is through assessment of the learners that you got to know that, and yourself that you got to know that certain things are not going well, meaning they are not actually getting what you are teaching. Of course, questions to be used. The teacher will ask questions intermittently and provide what we call remedial summary. In the lesson, somebody can miss so much in the development. So when an indicator is completed, the teacher provides an interim word summary. This interim summary can be a whole significant word, part of the lesson that can drive understanding, where possibly some students were switched from the course of instruction, they were diverted to other activities, or by some psychological mechanism, they lost control of the listening. Such a remedial summary or interim summary can still enforce in the lesson in the student. And so, for every learning indicator that the teacher tries to teach, once it has been what addressed, the teacher provides that kind of what interim summary, and that can also enforce whatsoever that what they need to what understand. When lessons are done, the teacher must also what give some kind of what assessment, whether it is a piece, a class test, a homework, or whatsoever. The teacher must do it because the function of the teacher. But note that we are not just giving any assignments, any instructions, just for giving sake, but to ensure that whatever outcome that we want to achieve, we model such assessment in line with the outcome so that we can develop our learners very well. Sometimes an exercise, an assignment, a task that you will give them is enough to teach them. Well, it is part of teaching. So we cannot take assessment from teaching. Assessment is teaching. And so some instructions can be done through assessment, where the teacher is using some kind of inquiry form of what? Learning. The student goes to find out project work. And by so doing, as they interact with the environment, they better understand what we even intend to teach in the classroom. But it's not enough to give assessment without scoring assessment. And when assessment is scored very late, then the usefulness of that assessment is actually thrown to the dustbin. Because immediate feedback promotes learning. But when it is late, the students are not able to connect to what made them actually get to that point of the development. And so for me, I don't see why sometimes assessment delays so much. In the university, I have about currently a course I'm teaching in the final year in the university. I have about almost 200 and something students in the class. Almost 200 and something. They write my quizzes normally on Sunday. And then their classes on Tuesday. 200 and something students. So they write on Sunday. By Tuesday, I'm delivering results to them. Because I believe that assessment or feedback must be timely. And when it's timely, it will serve as one learning. They will get to understand why they had this wrong, why they should have done it the other way around. But when it is not marked timely and even giving it back to them, then in chapter 5, it is not serve its purpose of what? Improving learning, curriculum development, and innovation. Another task that the teacher will have to play in the school. Yeah, when we talk about curriculum development, we are not saying that the teacher should go and develop the syllabus, go and develop the instructional program, but we are talking about the development of various instructions in the school. The learning plan you write is part of what? The development. Sometimes there are some changes that must be made in the curriculum. Yesterday you were told that if some topics are meant to be taught before others, then the teacher must do that. And that is part of what? A development and innovation. So it is not because the syllabus has indicated it is topic A, after that go to B, and after that move to C. And so you want to teach in that order, knowing very well that by your expertise, if C is not delivered first, there's no way B will be understood. And so as part of your innovation and creativity, it's called for re-engineering. It's called for innovating in the curriculum. This is what we call curriculum innovation, where you make some kind of minor changes, minor adjustments in view of what? Your learners, and not adjustment because it is nice to adjust, but you are looking at your learners as to what must be done in order to help them to understand the lesson. In a good school, anytime you make an innovation in the curriculum, it must be reported to the head of department. Because normally, the head of department, let me say the subject department, know exactly what you must complete in a particular semester. So when it happens that something else is done without their knowledge, it can create some kind of problems in the school. So I say that always do things that when I'm even doing something bad, I'll look for a place of escape. You must always look for something that will allow you to want escape. And if you close all doors, then it means you are treating your own self. For me, I don't anything I do, whether good or bad, I'll look for a place of escape. So it's better to let the head of department get to know of what the changes you have made in that particular SMS or structure of the curriculum that you intend to implement, and let them understand why they must be done. Strictly focusing on you and not because you are not prepared. No, you must be prepared. Then we can talk about relationship with other related departments. So we have the business department, we have the social sciences department, we have the language department, and whatsoever. Note that by the structure of our program, there are some linkages in what the curriculum or the subject. So we see linkages, even something in management can be found in social studies, can be found in economics. And so there are some discussions that can be um, that you can engage yourself in at what we call the faculty level or the departmental level with colleague teachers, colleague teachers. Such discussions are to further bring light into the curriculum issue, and this is part of a professional development. Or in the name of what? Sharpening yourself as what? A teacher. Or in the name of what? Building strong professional knowledge in the area so that when you reach out to your students, you can provide a very strong and formidable word instruction. And let me tell you, even in your own department, you can have about two management instructors or three or four, depending on the size of the school and the student population. You must relate with them. You must discuss a topical issue in the subject area. And that gives you further understanding. Because let me tell you, you are a professional, but there will definitely be certain things that you might not know. And so by engaging in such kind of what practices, you develop yourself better and reposition yourself better in order to provide instruction. I know this kind of proudness that are found in people where they think that they don't need anybody to survive in the school or they are better than people in the school. And so therefore they are so big to relate with somebody or discussing something with somebody in relation to the character. No, in fact, if the students are failing, it is the whole school that will be sad.
Dog. Please, can you hear him?
We can't hear him.
No.
Because I also can't hear.
No, we can't.
I think
Yes.
it's off.
So if you can alert him.
Mr. Digraft,
Yes, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear, sir.
we are recording. Oh, please mute
All right.
yourself.
So such faculty knowledge built with other teachers in the school in relation to curriculum content will make you both or you all in the area to appear good in front of your students. And by so doing, heightening the reputation of the team, the teachers in the area, the department, and feeding into the overall reputation of the school. This must be what noted. So these are the roles that an instructor must play or execute in the school setting. The lesson preparation, a lesson delivery, evaluation, curriculum development and innovation, and relationship. If there are no questions, then I want to go
Dog,
to yes.
We didn't hear you.
we didn't. We can't hear you. The network keeps on breaking. The moment you
Wow.
reached the faculty, when you said faculty, everything went off again. You came back, then off again.
Wow. So all that I was saying under the fact I was like when you build relationship with other teachers in the subject area, okay, you strengthen yourself, you sharpen yourself, you build what is called a faculty. Okay, you are about two management teachers.
Dog, you are off again.
Is it better? Hello?
Dog, you went off. Oh. When you were trying to explain again, you went off.
My network is strong here. I've not gone offline. Hence, I don't know what is happening. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. For now, we can hear you.
Yeah, so, all right. So what I tried doing was to get you to understand the relationship with the other department, where I mentioned faculty knowledge. Look at it like building a knowledge world capital for that particular department. You see, most often than not, we have experts in the area who fail to share knowledge. So all that they know, all that they have learned over time in that particular institution is kept in their memory. And so when such individuals even die, they die with their knowledge. And so it becomes what? A disadvantage to the department to now build other faculty members to that level. Because some individuals have what? The institutional memory, the departmental memory. And so when such memories are kept only to them, once they die with it. And so when knowledge sharing practices are put in place in the school system, then it means that knowledge will not only reside in individual head, but it will reside in collective head. And so the school keeps what? The development. The school keeps developing. But if knowledge is not shared, it creates a problem. And in that case, we don't build what we call a strong faculty. And so it is through knowledge sharing practices in the subject area that builds a stronger faculty knowledge. I hope it is clear now.
Yes, dog.
All right. If there are other questions, you can ask. If no questions, then we go to communication. All right. So I think we can continue. Good. In order to function the teacher play, especially in the execution of what? The learner plan, it must be done through what? Some pedagogical communication practices. And there's no way classrooms will be effective. Content will be administered or transferred to students without communication. So communication, as we know in business organizations, is an integral part of teaching. See it as the life, the blood of teaching. No teacher can execute instruction without communication. And that is a quality that we must actually pay attention to. I've had the opportunity to supervise students on campus teaching projects and off-campus teaching projects across the region. And I tell you, communication is a big problem. But for now, yes, you know, yes, I'm afraid to basa 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 basa. Engineer, you're training me for 4 years. Come for ER and bro basa basa basa. Subject verb agreement and things. Basa basa basa. They try basa basa basa. So you can have a good teacher. The teacher is very good, but the teacher finds it very difficult to transmit knowledge to the student because of what? Communication. In communication, all we are doing is we are establishing commonness between ourselves as teachers and our students. We are establishing commonness. There is no way we can provide instruction at a level above that of our students and expect our students to understand it. So by commonness, what a language, what a word do they understand? So that such words, such language are used in providing instruction so that they will come to understand what we want them to understand. No wonder you don't start using the English language so much at the lower level, primary one, primary two, because at that point they are now building what? Understanding of what? The English language, the L2. And so we use much of what? The L1 in teaching them because that is what they start growing with, they start learning. So it becomes easier to instruct them in that language. In the same way, at the SHS level, they have come up to a certain level of what? Understanding with the use of the language, the English language. And so the teacher cannot operate above their level of what? Understanding in terms of the use of language. Or because the teacher is saying that, yes, I've been to the university and university, the cabra so far. It's West Akese, it's a man, but there. The teacher to be saying that students do not understand. And the teacher said that the dictionary is there. You can go and find out. No. That is not teaching. That is not communication. That will rather reward in that they are what understanding. And so it doesn't matter whether you are a professor or what. It will be better to use simple language for the students to understand you than to use a big word for the students to praise you in the classroom. Yet they do not understand all that you have said. That will be a useless teaching, an ineffective what lesson. So language by way of words, language by way of symbol, language by way through which we transmit content to our students. Meaning, we must pay attention to these areas. Our words, our symbols, our phrases, our gestures when we are instructing our students. Please, are you all hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now let's look at some criteria that we can use to actually assess the media that we use. Because I said that the word, the gestures, the phrases, they are all our medium of instruction. And so, how do we employ them? And how are we sure that these medium or media are effective in the teaching and learning process? One, they must be simple and down to earth. So whatever type of language you use, by way of what? Word. I'm saying that go for the most simplest word. It will be better to go for them and the students will appreciate your lesson. Go for the most simplest word. However, it's so simple word to use that to go and say that be it as it may because Akwa University, However, so common. I'll be able to say, overall for them, form too much. Into what call this man, I call the same with however, making that kind of thing. Making my a different way complex, especially I'm part. It's university in Makobi. Into Katana, however, to talk however. And I'll kind of be it as it may. Be actually me. And you think that is so simple. It is not simple. You are nearly compounding problems in the classroom. It should be so clear. It must carry a simple message. A simple idea. And I don't know, it is because of what? I'm sure it is our development. You see that when we are talking, we say a lot of things at a time. And so we don't actually develop an idea. We do not develop an idea. You don't ever that we write a lot. You after you have written, you take your time and analyze what you have written. You will see that even in a paragraph that you are communicating, you have said so many things in the paragraph that we cannot find the central idea in what you are saying. That cannot happen in the classroom. I told you, that lessons must be so systematic, so clear, in such a way that your learners will understand the import of it. And when people talk fluently and their words do not enforce each other, develop an idea they have earlier introduced, it creates a whole mess in the classroom. And I tell you, these are some things that we'll be checking as we come supervising you for your work, your up-campus inquiry. Me, I pray I don't come and supervise some of you because if I come and supervise you, some of these things you are not doing them, I'll be unhappy with you. Last week I was supervising some students. Nipa Marco, Obisa, explanation of a concept. In the question, no or say bisa example of something. In the question, will be so be said on check a particular terminology. So I was there, I was like, what is this particular teacher actually was asking? What should the learners do? Either to explain the concept or a certain keyword or give what should they do? So confusing. The word is coming to and so whatever that comes in our mind immediately, we cannot wait for the appropriate time. Then we are saying it. It's a problem for us, a lesson. We will need to work to check it. The media must be familiar to both words, the teacher and what the learner. Whatever word, whatever gesture that you use, it must be familiar with you and your students. When you go to India, if they want to say yes by gesticulating, they take their head from left to right. I didn't say top and down. I said left to right, and that is what they mean by yes. When it is from top to down, they mean no. What about Ghana? Different. No? Ghana, top to down means yes. Left to right means no. If you use all of these gestures and then the other party is not able to interpret it well, it creates a problem. You bring instructional resources to the classroom. They must be things that are familiar to the students, and so that they can connect with it and trying to understand that abstract knowledge that you are provided. In fact, whatever you do or bring to the classroom to communicate to the students, make sure that the intended meaning is within their reach. It's something they are familiar with. No wonder we give familiar examples. But that is what they can connect to. We look for things around the students. But that is what they can connect to. You are talking about something happening outside in Ghana. Even in Ghana, they have not been to a certain part of the region. And you are using that so much in your instruction. How will they appreciate your lesson? Nipano, Otiaka, Otikaswa, the school war, and Dansuma. Into no, Oko Dansuma, no point upon school or Becky or better. Even all part Dansuma, Ako Circle, Cry, Onim Circle. Akodu Osukra, Onim Osu. So there's the thing at Dansuma and Kaswa that the person is familiar. Also, wait a while, it's a way for Dansuma. HMI I could do airport. HMU every airport. What Raka Ako country be a hot example now. Over the trade. How will they want to be able to connect with you? So familiarity will not be there. Whatever you say should be understandable. And it will be understandable when it is very clear and it's so specific. They are familiar with it and they can relate with it. It will create understanding. Your media will be unambiguous. It should communicate one. make sure that your question, they are pointing to one thing, because that is by words that you are using. They are pointing to a particular thing without creating any word confusion. And your media should be so stimulating and exciting. Sometimes the teaching learning resources to bring to the class. It's also part of what? Your media. They can attract attention. They can evoke interest. And they can sustain learning. Just imagine you have come to a class and you tell the student that today you have come to watch a special movie, a very nice movie. And this movie, you are going to learn something from it. That day, those that actually they will listen, because it is something that's what excites you. So what can you do as a teacher such that you will excite your students with your media or medium of instruction? We need to be thinking about this and a little things we can do in our classroom to make our classroom a better one. We might not see the relevance of this, but I tell you, the sort of learners that we have, some are suffering. Some are far from the civilization. And so it is this little things that we do that brings them back home. And so when we do a lot of complicated stuff in the classroom, we are not helping ourselves and helping our students. Anyway, other questions for me, or it is enough? One person can respond, and I know you are there. Other questions?
Yes, sir. So it's deep draft.
Go ahead.
Okay. Primary school, when we are introducing lesson, we introduce starter, that is singing. So when it comes to SHS, the introduction of the lesson, don't we sing? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm here to teach the learner plan and what goes into the learner plan, and then how to introduce a lesson and all that. I'm not saying you cannot sing, but in fact, class one, primary one is not SHS one, SHS two. Yeah, correct. A quick announcement at what SHS, because at that level, the maturity is higher than that of what the primary level. So there are things that we will do. Possibly you want to sing, but I think uh, yeah. What are you going to sing at the SHS level in introducing a lesson? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
And what song do you want to sing?
Please, I've never talked there before. It's a question that I'm asking, sir.
You
Thank
assuming
you.
you are there. You assume that you are there. What song will you want to sing? Yes, we will not do certain things. All right, because of the level of development. At the primary level, the child is now learning how to do simple calculations. And because the child has not developed high mental structure, so the child is asked to manipulate crank off. We will not also come to the SHS level and ask an SHS student to what? And manipulate crank off. It needs some kind of what simple arithmetic. So set to that level and the sort of activity they are supposed to perform. So you don't come to the university and I'll have time and I'll be doing aeroplane in the university. I'll not have time to do that job at the university. No. Because at this level, it's high level of maturity, development. And anything that I say at a higher level, you should be able to go and what? Break it down, read, understand all that I've said, look for more information on it. So at the university, we merely want introduce learners to ideas. We merely introduce them to ideas. Then they will go and develop it further. And so we read a program at the university. We don't do programs. So when someone asks you, what are you doing in the university? Tell that person, I'm not doing anything. I am reading. And so once you come to the university, we make you read a lot. So you see that in that case, there are certain things I will not do at the university because of what? The level of what? The development. In the same way, in terms of SHS, we will not do certain concurrency stuff because those concurrency stuff are meant for primary one children. Okay, and we are teaching young adults. And so we expect them to be responsible in certain ways. And so, yes, we'll be stimulating and exciting stuff with some watch videos and things that are quite to their level than to be a singing. All right.
Yes, sir.
The guys, are you okay? Yes, that's good. So look for activities that is why I kept saying that. Things that your learners will appreciate. So, so if well, at this level, assuming you are teaching me and you ask me to do this sort of concurrency songs and the rest, you are teaching me, you know I will not participate in it. Because I'll see it as too low. I'll see it below the belt. I will not engage myself in it because of my level of development. So in the same way, you look at their level of development. That is why I said, whatever that you are doing, it must be up to their level of what? Development. For them to get to be involved. If it is not, then you should expect that if you don't take it, you do it alone as a teacher. All right. Now in communication, what we try to do is that we are influencing our learners' what? Perception of the knowledge that we are communicating to them. We are influencing them. Not that we are communicating, we are providing ideas in influencing them, not brainwashing them. No, it's not brainwashing. It is not indoctrination, but it is influencing them. Targeted at what? Their behavior. Targeted at the way and attitude. Upon that one point, so social studies is so rich with what? Value. And now, the more people go to school, they are losing what? Essential what? Value. And that was one of the reasons why they brought what? The standard based curriculum. They said we have lost our national value. And so
Hey, is he lost again? Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Can you hear him?
No,
No, we
we
can
can't
hear.
hear. Hello, colleagues. Can you hear me, dog? Because I can't hear anything.
No, we can't hear him.
Please, people are leaving, so what can we do?
I've seen a message that says that we should take 10 minutes break.
Yes, sir.
Penny also.
Yeah, hello. Hello, can you hear from me now?
Charlie.
Yes,
Yes.
Doc.
All right, so I don't know where the rest are gone, but we can continue. We said 10 minutes, so I expect all of them to be here. So is this particular slide okay? Hello,
Hi, dog.
Hi, Doc.
is this slide okay? I cannot make progress.
Yes, please.
So we looked at the communication process, and this is not the issue as management. In the communication process, we have the sender performing some task, the receiver performing some task, and a media that actually connect the sender and the receiver. So we said that the sender develops an idea in the classroom. The teacher is always developing ideas thought that will be communicated to the student. In fact, this is done in the process of teaching. Even when a message must be sent to the student, it is done in some kind of split second, very fast. And I expect that before a teacher talks in the classroom, the teacher should think about whatever he or she is about saying. We don't just say things and don't say, no, no, I didn't mean it. And then if you said no, no, and oh, sorry, I didn't know. The teacher should think through very well and communicate ideas straightforward. Once the idea is developed, the teacher must put it in a form that students will understand. This is what we say that you encode the message. So encoding is where you put the idea in a form. Is it by some features that they will understand? Is it by some example that they will understand? Is it by some illustrations that they will understand? It's by what way or means will they understand? You must think through that. That is the encoding process. That will help the message to be transmitted to the student by using appropriate media, either by words, either by some kind of facilities, resources, whatsoever, to get to the student. Once the students receive the message, they will also decode the meaning of the message with the help of their perceptual organization. They either accept or reject the message based on their understanding of the message. But you will get to know as to whether they are accepting the message, they are rejecting the message, they are going to do or apply the message to the level at which you expected it. You will get to know all these things by way of the feedback they send to you. This feedback they will send to you is not always by saying we did not understand, we did not get it. Kindly repeat again and all that. The feedback can be sent in many ways because I said everything in the classroom is about communication. So some will put up a bad look, and by such a bad look, it is telling you the teacher they did not get it. That is communication. The sort of reaction that will be displayed will tell you. So it is not always expecting students to tell you that they do not understand something you said, or would you want to repeat again and all that. They will show it in different ways through them. Those that for free will want you raise their hands for you to call them. Those that are shy of their friends and the rest will begin to show some signs. And all these signs, all these gestures, all these expressions through words and phrases must be observed and understood for an appropriate communication to be what employed. So in the event that they have shown signs that they do not understand, it will call for changing the media. It will call for revising the media. It will call for re-encoding the message such that this time around it stated the unique needs, it stated the differences in understanding, it stated the challenges of the student in understanding that which was communicated. And this you must note very well. That sometimes the feedback is poor because the process was hindered by some kind of noise. And this noise can be physical or psychological. When there is noise in the classroom, physical noise, somebody is disturbing, somebody is talking, somebody unnecessary environmental pollution, you will know to deal with that. But that every teacher can easily identify. But the psychological noise, if we are not careful, we might not be privy to such barriers. Sometimes the child is not getting what you are teaching, not because of what you are saying is not clear. But the child is hungry. Come on then. Trade number three beer, maybe beer so on if it's a comedy. Sometimes they are exhausted, tired. Trade number three beer on because it's called for rest. It's called for tension to be released. But because you are not paying attention to the psychological aspect of the student, what charges are then so in fact you need to check some of these things. And that is why I don't like teachers that teach beyond their time because it is determined that at that time that is the level to which the students can accommodate. If it is break, allow them to go for break. Nobody asked you not to come to class in the previous week and the rest. Nobody asked you not to come. Don't now come and use their break to cover up. Their break is their break. They must break. Don't come and do those kind of things. Be professional. And so we watch the entire process of communication in ensuring that we address the weaknesses of our students. Please note that you, the teacher, can be seen as noise because of your presence in the classroom. Your presence can take away their thought, their focus. Instead of focusing on the content, the focus might be on you as a teacher because of possibly the way you are looking, the way you are behaving in the classroom, like a comedian, like somebody who is not serious, like anything that will not direct to learning. So you need to check yourself very well as a teacher, the way you appear in the classroom. Excuse me to say, if you appear as a madman, in fact, you can imagine what will happen in your classroom. And if you appear as a professional, you can also imagine what will happen in the classroom. And so teacher presence is key in actually enforcing instruction, in actually keeping the environment conducive. Students focus on learning. You must check these. And you must check behaviors of students in the classroom that can distract others. So by way of your classroom management skills, 30 students cannot sit together because it will serve as a demotivation for others to learn. You must know all these things and correct them in your classroom to ensure that at each point lessons are effective. The environment is conducive for learning. The environment must be conducive for learning. And so we must check it very well. Good. Some communication barriers arise from what teachers communicate is not getting to the learners. It's not being accepted by the learners. It's not being understood by the learners. It's not being realistic. Yesterday, I was telling you that some of the students we teach, they will not accept certain things from us. And by not accepting them, it creates a barrier because what they know previously contradicts with what we are telling them today. And so, if we do not demystify knowledge that they bring to the classroom, that is problematic, then we are sure that already a barrier has been created and it will be difficult for them to accept whatever that you want to tell them. Please always find a way to demystify misconceptions or they can serve as a big challenge in the classroom. Always demystify before adding your new knowledge, before transmitting your new knowledge to your students. Please always do that. Hello.
Hello.
All right. Communication can be done in various ways or in a variety of ways. The most obvious is to use words, either talking or writing. That is the most obvious. When you talk, talk very well. And when you write, write very well. And so when you go for the off-campus teaching practice, we'll check how you use words. Are your words clear enough? Are they even mentioned very well? People mention words, and sometimes when there is X at the end, you don't know whether the X they brought it or they didn't bring it in their communication. They check on that. How well do they write on the board? That grammatical accuracy is there. Subject verb agreement is there. We will want to see that you are doing these things very well. Communication is seeing something. What are they seeing in the classroom? You are teaching, you are even teaching learning results, and it is pasted on the board, but yet you are not using it. And it's still pasted on the board. So what will they do? They will be paying attention to that. Because if they are seeing something, and that will be communicating to them. What are they seeing in the classroom? Is it you that you have presented yourself in your form? That is one professional. And so it is distracting them. What are they seeing? Communication is seeing. So anything that is brought to their view must be something you want to communicate to them. Anything that is brought to their view must be something you want to use to enforce instruction. If it is not to enforce instruction, let it be out of their view. Communication is starting something. It means that some learners can learn when they are given the opportunity to manipulate things in their learning environment. So yesterday I was talking about the tester of the bread. Yes, let the males actually manipulate the bread and see the tester as to how soft or hard it is. Because if they don't do that, they will not appreciate the tester of the bread. And so if the right experience is not provided, some learners will not understand communication is starting something. Communication is smelling something. No wonder you are able to tell that the food is sweet. They must use all their sense organs by what I am saying in order to develop knowledge. Testing something. Communication actually includes the whole body. The whole body. So how are we posturing in the classroom? How are we gesturing in the classroom? How are we acting and behaving in the classroom? Everything about the body is communication. And so we want to be careful in all these aspects so that we become good models to our students. Some students do not listen to what we say because of some poor listening habits that they have developed. Let's briefly go through these words, listening words, habits. One, we have what we call the on and off listening. On and off listening. On and off listening. What do we mean by on and off listening? By the nature of the attention span of our students, the first 25 to 30 minutes, they are active listening. And it is normal. Even look at you as adults. Some of you get tired in the course of what? Listening. For our online lectures. Some get tired after 30 minutes, 41 hours, 2 hours for a break. It's the same thing with our students. They will get tired after the first 30 to 35 minutes. So it means that if you are a teacher and you have talked for more than 30 to 35 minutes, be in the know that after the 35th minute, you are talking to yourself. Keep that in mind. So that you do not more in the classroom. You do not overdo it in the classroom. Talk less and let them do more talking. And that is why our activities in the classroom must be so effective. If we don't bring in more activities in the classroom and we are talking more, you can imagine what will be happening. Red flag listening. What is it? There are some words that we use in the classroom that can cause some kind of emotional reaction. And such emotions can make the student switch off. In my law class, the lecturer was a lawyer, a practicing lawyer, and he was teaching us. And he said that in the law class or in the law court, things must be said just as it is, without trying to euphemize things. Other than that, the jury will not understand the real import of arguments, of problems and the rest. So there was this lady that apparently she was raped by a friend. And so the matter came before a Jew, and she was called to come and tell her side of the story. So she said, when I was sleeping, he came to what? Sleep by me. And I just said, sleep by you. How? He slept here. And he said, no, 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 no. He forced himself on me. He forced himself on you. He forced, how? Because this is also giving a lot of what? Interpretation. Of course, say, how? We are not getting what you are saying. Then the judge told the lady that you say it in your local language. What actually happened? They said, Papa Judge, mistake. Odimi. And this was the lawyer that was talking to us. The one, the lawyer said that there was a friend by me. These are these SDA people and the rest. So she got angry and started packing her things. That the lawyer liked it if it is stuff. And so, I don't know the waponka until letter. Just that word triggered her emotion. And so she's angry, she will not listen again. There are some words that we use in the classroom that can trigger such emotion and to make our learners be put off and they wish they don't listen to us again. We need to check the sort of words we use. That they don't create. They don't create that reaction. Open ears, closed mind, listen. Open ears. In fact, sometimes some of the students behave as if they are listening to you. They are drawn towards you. Hello,
Hi, dog.
are you hearing?
Yes, please, I can hear you.
I hear you.
Someone just sent a message that she cannot hear. But it's clear, right?
Yes, please, from my side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's clear.
All right. So we need to. Sometimes they behave as if they are listening to us, but they are in fact and not listening. Glazy eyed listening. There are some students by nature they have big eyes. What I mean by that is that they open their eyes 360 looking at you as you are teaching them. You know that they are intensely looking at you, thinking that they are really listening. It's a lie. Don't forget, some sleep even when their eyes are open. So don't be deceived. These are signs you need to draw students' attention. Don't be deceived. Glazy eyes. They just open their eyes intensely looking at you, thinking they are listening to you. Their minds are off. Such students intermittently, you can call them, you can ask them questions, you can draw that. What did I say? You can ask them questions to know if they're indeed listening to you and all that. Too deep for me listening. Too deep for me listening. Sometimes when we are teaching, it becomes so complex, so difficult. What we are teaching. we get to a complex stage, or we are teaching in a complex way. And so the learners feel like to see there, this thing, it's above me, it is beyond me, I cannot cope again. It's too difficult. It's too difficult. Yeah, the miss my Anna. When that happens, they don't want to continue with you. They don't want to progress with you because what you are teaching them is becoming too complex. So they want to end it there. Not rocket. Sometimes what you teach is against what they know. What you are teaching is against what they already know. And so when that happens, they feel like you are wrong as a teacher. So because you are wrong as a teacher, they don't want to listen to you again because what you are saying is not in line with what they already know. And that can let them also what? Stop what? Listening. These things must be checked. What have questions on listening? Any questions?
But please, I didn't get the last one. Don't rock the boat, listen.
I said that sometimes when you are teaching, what you say is against what they know. What you are saying is not the same as what they know. So they feel like you are wrong. This is where I keep saying that you need to always identify what they know. And then where you find that what they know are not entirely the truth, start pointing those things out earlier and start letting them know why it is not correct. They must get that first before you move on and add your own. But when you add straight away, it will be impeded by what they know, and they will not accept what you are teaching. In that case, they will switch off in the classroom. That is what I meant by that.
All right, thank you.
So I said, anytime you are teaching, I think I explained this in the process, that anytime you are teaching, you must confirm whether learning actually occurred. And I said that by so doing, you gauge the learning. By reviewing the actual meaning of what was taught and the actual behavior. What was taught and the actual behavior. You must always do that. So what did you teach? What behavior is expected of them? Are they showing that behavior? If they are not showing that behavior, then there is a problem. Their reaction to what was taught is called the feedback. So I say something and someone disfigures the face. It's the feedback I'm receiving. If the feedback is so negative, it means some factors must be examined. What is making them not to understand? Could it be the words I use? Could it be the examples? Could it be the activity? Could it be my level of language? Could it be some noise? Could it be somebody was not listening? The teacher must find out what is actually leading to the negative feedback. Are we good?
Yes, please.
All right. If there are questions, ask questions before I move on with a methodology. So I'm gradually getting to the methods of teaching. I want to look at methodology. Right from the methods of teaching, then we are getting to the lesson planning stuff. After that, we look at issues of questioning, and I'm sure we'll be ending there. Yeah, so teachers, we say methodology. So what is your methodology? In this methodology, we are looking at it much more of a philosophy, much more of it, how we teach. I want to find out your understanding of the following because we use it a lot in our classroom. And sometimes we use them interchangeably. Teaching approach, teaching method, teaching technique, teaching strategy, methodology. Can I hear from you? Obi answer now. Yeah. Former, you can start.
Good. You said the difference between teaching methods and approach, right?
Yes, so explain. We want to find the differences between teaching approach, teaching method, teaching technique, teaching strategy, methodology. So you can take the first one or take any that you like, and because we need to understand these words as you use in teaching.
Okay, so with the teaching methodology, teaching methods, I will say they are the procedures, your strategies that you are going to use to deliver your instructions. Then, with the approach, uh, it's all about approach and methods. They are the same. Oh. The strategies, yes, so they are the same. So teaching methods is about your strategies, your ways, how you are going to deliver your lessons. Then with the teaching approach too, is the same thing, whether you are going to use the student-centered or the teacher-centered and the rest.
So you are saying there are no differences, right?
There are difference. You know, method is about strategy. Then the approach, I will say, your overall perspective, how you are going to deliver your uh, lesson, your teaching process. That is the approach. So
I
the
see.
approach
That's
is we can talk of the student centered and the teacher centered, student centered, the group and groupings and the rest. But with the methods, you can talk of whether you are going to use the lecture method, whether you are going to give them project work, yeah, discussion methods and the rest.
the technique. All right. I love the contribution from I think it has done a good job. Let's hear from others. Anita, how
Okay, Doc. I think My network went off blue, but from what Madam Command
Can you
said.
speak up a bit for me?
I said my network went off a little bit, but from what Madam Command is saying, yeah, that is, if I had the question right, then neither. With the
Speak up for
method,
me. I can barely hear you.
please, is it okay, Doc? Hello,
It's not I'll come too much.
and the network. Hello, Doc, please, is it okay? Hello.
All right, we will manage like that. Don't worry. Go ahead.
The methodology that tells which method, how are you going to tackle the topic? Then with the approach,
In fact, if I can't hear you now, it will be difficult for me to be able to comment on your answer.
because contributing to the what happens to the method is very important.
I see. Can we hear another person? Nana is not too clear to us, so we will find it difficult. The rest, Anita, Catherine, Omoe, you have not heard from Catherine. Did she come? Yes, she's there. Catherine, let me hear from you.
Yes, Lord.
Why are you hiding your children?
Since I'm around. Please, as Poma said, with the method, it's how you are going to impact the content to the learners. Example is the method like the discussion methods and all those things. And then with the approach, whether you are going to use, let's say, a learner-centered method approach like activities, and then let's say groupings. That is how I also understand it. And then with the strategies too, maybe using practicals. So all of them is like it's interchangeably.
I see. All right, can we have Anita, Degas, Edward, William, anyone?
All right, Doc. Talking about teaching approach, we are looking at the theories, or maybe your particular theory you have taken, being it, let's say, the constructivist theories, and then the rest. So maybe as a teacher, you have one philosophy in mind that you used to teach, or one um, model or theory that you have adopted as a way of teaching. That will go into the teaching approach. So anytime you are teaching, you go by that philosophy you have in mind, or that concept you have in mind based on maybe the theories you've learned. Then talking about the teaching methods, out of your teaching approaches, you come out with a method or a way of delivering or a way of facilitating in your classroom. So it could be, as Madam Poma said, as the either lecture method, discussion method, and the rest. Now, when it comes to the teaching techniques, we are looking at, out of the method you've chosen, what particular way or skill will you use in implementing the method you've chosen? So maybe during the discussion, you've chosen a method called discussion. You can use, out of the discussion, you can use a technique known as the think pressure to do your discussion. That is the little I can say.
Continue with your strategy. Hello, Edward. Hello. Hello, Edward. Continue with your strategy.
Okay, Doc. With the concept of strategy, out of the technique you've chosen, you come out with a personal way or a personal direction of delivering the message out of the technique you've chosen. As I said, think question as a technique under a method or a teaching method called discussion. When you come to the strategy, you can develop a particular way of giving the main question or how you give the question to the student for the student to start with the think pressure. So an approach or no, I'm not an approach, a way of modeling the lesson for learners to participate in the think pressure or the technique you've chosen is your strategy you've adapted in delivering the technique you've chosen as a teacher.
All right. I think that is a very good contribution. Very, very good. I enjoyed the explanation. I really enjoyed it. Can we have the last person? This is Anita. Let me hear from you. Oh, wait, Anita is hiding from me. Anita, wait. I hope you can hear from me.
Yes, please.
We can hear.
Okay, then Elizabeth. Elizabeth, I've not heard anything. Say something.
Doc, please, Edward said everything. No.
Is that so?
Yes, please.
All right. I think Edward has made the teaching very simple for me. Very, very simple. Most often, these words are used interchangeably, but they are not the same. As Edward said, the approach is a philosophy. The approach is a philosophy. That guy teaching. It is out of the approach that we have the method, the technique, the strategy we employ. It's out of the approach. This approach, together with the method, technique, strategy, we call it pedagogy. So pedagogy itself is a philosophy. Pedagogy is a philosophy. Very broad. And it can be understood from approach, method, technique, strategy, methodology. So by approach, I can say that how do students learn? So it's a philosophy. So how do they come to know what they know? How do they obtain knowledge in the classroom? So some philosophers believe that they can obtain knowledge, they can come to know when they are involved in interaction, when they explore their environment, they better understand the knowledge they are looking out for or they want to have. And so learners should be involved in discovering or creating or constructing knowledge. So then this gives rise to that. Then we can talk about the student-centered approach, teacher-centered approach, and the intermediate transitional, where now we are seeing teacher and student interaction. Student-centered is pure, or student performing most of the activities. Teacher-centered, the teacher performing most of the activities. Inter or transitional, teacher-student interaction. By this philosophy, if it is about student-centered, then what method can we use? Which way can we use? Can we follow so that our students are involved in developing the knowledge? So say, okay, then let's go by the brainstorming method. It's a way. And let's go by the discussion method. It's a way. Let's go by the role play method. It's a way. It's a method. Let's go by the guided discussion method. Let's go by the field trip. Then we have the way, the method. In each of the methods, there are specific tasks, there are specific activities that the students will have to execute or we have to take them through in order for the way or the method to be complete. For the method to be fully executed, then there are specific things that must be done under the method. Those things are called techniques. So if I use a question and answer method, what is it telling me? I should ask a question. Asking a question then becomes a task. Somebody will have to answer the question. It is also a task. These are the specific things that are done under the method question and answer. So when I ask the question, a task is being performed. The way I ask the question, there are techniques, right? I have to pose a question, a task being performed, posing a question, technique, texting, technique, pointing, technique, someone answering part of the task, fitting into the technique of instruction. If I don't want anybody to answer, I'll not allow you to answer. Technique. Brainstorming method. A way of making the students become part of the lesson. So it fulfills the philosophy that they can discover or develop knowledge when they are part of classroom activities. Technique and a brainstorming method. I define a problem, a technique. Always the techniques are seen in the task. So the tasks that are performed explains the technique. So I define a problem under the method, a technique. I give them opportunity to brainstorm. So they move into the brainstorming session, another technique. They bring out the answers or the ideas tabulated on the board, a technique. We move on to a review of the answers and follow up discussion, a technique. All coming together to form a method. Respecting the philosophy, student-centered philosophy. Am I teaching? Am I teaching?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Doc.
All right. The strategy is how each teacher does it. Each teacher. Every teacher will employ a method and respect some techniques. But how is teacher A doing it from teacher B? How is teacher B doing it from teacher C? How is teacher C doing it from the teacher D? How have they systematically, organized the technique? How have they systematically organized the technique? Not the method, oh, but it's the technique. How the teacher will ask the question. How the teacher asks the question. Asking the question is the technique. How the teacher asks the question, it's a strategy. So I can say the strategy is how the method is applied. Yes, I'm right to say that. But in the application of the method, we respect the technique. And it's the technique that the teacher will display in the classroom as to how the question is asked, as to how the teacher pauses, as to how the teacher call out what students to answer questions, as to how the teacher emphasize certain things. That is the strategy. Together, fix methodology, and hence equation to pedagogy. And so we need to declare the approaches to teaching. We need to be clear with the approaches. And each approach, we should be conversant with the methods in each approach. And we should be okay with the technique that must be respected in the method. And then I have never supervised students. I don't know when I'll get one. That they have employed a method and respected the technique very well and executed the technique. Not those even who do discussing method. Because I don't see the clear technique in the discussing method. Teacher comes to class, answer one question, the person answers, or say, oh, I discussing. Is this called a discussion? At best, as for question and answer method, they do it very well. Because what teachers know is to ask questions and then to answer. That one they do very well. But they remove the question and answer, and they're using methods like discussing, guided discussing, brainstorming, and the rest. I happen not to appreciate the techniques under them because they are not executed very well. You want to pay attention to the technique of instruction. You are respecting the method and the approach. If you have indicated in your learner plan that you are going to engage in some kind of brainstorming, let us see the technique was described in the learner plan, was executed in classroom. Let us see that the tasks are being performed because it is the performance of the tasks that learning will come by. It's the performance of the task that learning will come by. And so if the tasks are poorly organized strategy, then you don't expect any learner to learn anything better from you. The terminology are very clear. And if we will all pay attention to them and we are teaching, I'm sure, because you can see that I've stressed the fact, because that is what somebody must do. And so if somebody is doing that, then we are sure there is what? Learning. We are very sure there is learning. Okay, let's pay attention to the task that must be performed. Hello?
I don't.
Hello?
Hi, sir.
Please, oh, we don't want to
Hi.
hear you.
Yeah, we are hearing you.
Uh-huh. So please, let us pay attention. In fact, our class will be so enjoyable. Our class, you will be seated when students see, they appreciate what we are doing in the classroom. And it is so well organized, systematically executed. There will be no problem. We have been to classes, you don't know what is happening at a point in time. It is like market remains selling. Like everything is disorganized. And you wonder how students will develop a skill that must be developed in a particular manner. It's so disorganized, and yet we believe that skills have been developed. It's never done. It's never done. And so we must pay attention very well to some of these things. All right. Now let's look at a factor that influence our teaching methodology. So now I've used the term methodology to incorporate every aspect, right? Everything within the framework of what? Pedagogy. So what factors influence teaching methodology? And I've indicated here four critical factors, four main factors, four main factors. We have the subject matter, two, the learner, three, instructional resources, and four, purpose. Let's call this as the slip factor. The slip factor. I'll appreciate it if you can try by picking each factor and telling me how it will influence your selection of methodology. So if a subject matter, how will subject matter influence methodology selection? How will the learner influence methodology selection? How will instructional resources influence methodology selection? How will purpose influence methodology selection? Let's start somewhere. I've not heard from Williams, so I don't know whether Williams is available. Williams, are you there?
Though I traveled, I'm back.
You are back, so welcome back.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
All right, so can you help us? Let's pick the first one. Subject matter.
Sir, the subject matter, if the teacher does not know what he is going to teach, or if he's not, he doesn't know much about what he's going to teach, it means that the teaching will not be perfect. The understanding on the part of the students will be difficult, because if a teacher, you don't know what you are going to do, the subject matter, the content of what you are going to do, if you are not conversant with it, that means you cannot do proper teaching. So in that case, it will be difficult for learning to take place. That is my understanding.
So how did you link it to methodology? Because I'm looking at how it will influence your selection of what methodology.
Now, please, I want to say something.
All right, go ahead.
Please, I think every content requires a particular method or technique or a strategy or whatever we were talking about. So, looking
Mhm.
at the content of what you are going to teach will influence what method you are going to use in teaching.
Yes. So how? How? I want to understand how it will do that.
Uh, I'll come again.
All right, Felicia.
Okay, no, okay.
Oh, the one who was talking. You can go ahead.
So, based on what Madam Lizzie said, I want to continue. Looking at the subject matter, looking at how complex maybe the subject matter is, it will help you to select the appropriate approach in your teaching, whether you are going to use any of the approaches that you are talking about. So you first of all look at the content of the subject matter so that it will help you to know what you are going to do.
So if I heard you very well, all that you said, I heard a particular word, complexity. How would the complexity of the subject matter influence the selection of what methodology? That is all. I want you to be so specific and let it influence the selection of a particular methodology, a method or whatsoever. Uh, So you are going to teach a topic. You have picked the topic. You are looking at subject matter. What would the subject matter tell you? That pick discussion method. That pick think per se. That do this. That do that. That is what I want. So I want you to tell me something about the content and let it lead to what? A selection. That's all I'm looking for. Yes,
Hello.
Felicia. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, please. I think that concerning the subject matter, as a teacher, knowing exactly what you want to teach or knowing exactly the skills you want to impact into your learners is one of the things that can help you to adapt a particular approach or a particular method in
So
teaching.
give us an example, specific example, and do it for us, please. You are right. So just do it for us. Yes, Felicia, don't run away. Oh, Catherine.
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead, William.
Hello. Sir, I
Go
think
ahead.
the subject matter will determine the approach you are going to use in delivering the topic, either to go by letter method, discussion, or project based learning or problem based learning. So
You are
the
right. An
subject matter
example.
will determine.
Yeah, come again.
I was saying that the subject matter will determine the method that you are going to use. So, like examples, I say either you go by the lecture method or discussion method or whatever method that you deem fit, you go with that particular subject.
Yeah, what you said is right, but I'm saying that we know the subject matter will influence. So how will it do it? I need how it is going to do it. So you give me an issue about the subject matter that will lead you to pick, let's say, a discussion method, or that will lead you to pick, let's say, any method at all or any activity at all. I want you to sequentially lead me to picking something so that I know that, oh, then if the subject matter is like this, it will lead me to pick, let's say, letter method. I want you to lead me. Do you get my question now?
Yes, yes, I'm getting what you are saying. For example, if you are going to go by, let's say, the lecture method, that's why we go with what the students do not have knowledge about. That means you are going to provide the knowledge. So with that one, you use, let's say, the lecture method.
Good. So now reverse the way you give the answer. So pick from the subject matter and lead me to the letter method. What you
Sir,
have
come
said
again.
is right.
Come again.
You said, what you have said is right, but the way you said it, I want you to start from the subject matter and lead me to the letter method. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes. So come back and pick the issue from the factor and let it logically lead us to the method that you selected, the letter method.
I'm a little confused.
Don't be confused. What you said, you have given me a reference. I will not pick a letter method before I come to the content, but I'll look at the content to lead me to the method. And so I want you to move in that direction. You started from the letter method, bringing me to the subject matter, and I don't like it that way. I like it
Okay,
from the subject
okay,
matter.
okay, okay, sir. That is the subject matter will determine the method that you are going to use in teaching. So, like the example I gave, if you look at the contents of the lesson you are going to deliver, and you know that this one students do not have much knowledge about what I'm going to teach, that means that you go by the lecture method. And on that part, you are going to provide most of the things that the students will have to know.
All right,
Am I okay?
good. That is how I wanted you to give me the answer. So you said that
Thank you, sir.
the subject matter is what? Complex. That you are teaching a novel issue to your class. You see, if you don't take care, it will fit
That's
into
correct.
the learner. If you don't take care, you see, it is like it is interacting with the learner factor. So, everything that. So if the learner do not have much understanding, then it becomes learner characteristic. The learner, it will take us to the second factor. But you are talking about a complex subject matter. And such a complex subject matter will require it to be what? Systematically be delivered by the teacher without learners' much involvement. And so this will call for what? A direct instruction for the teacher to what? Give what? A manageable display of what? The subject matter. And it will call for a direct instruction. Example, the letter method. The subject matter, don't forget in curriculum study, it's made up of knowledge, attitude, value, skills. And by the subject matter,
It calls for the development of a skill. So every topic will tell you what you will be particularly focusing on. This subject matter is so much about skill development. So if it is about skill development, then what methodology can I employ to help me to develop a skill? Because some methodologies do not help in developing skills. We are methodologies that normally help in developing what? Occupational skills. An example of such a methodology is the demonstration method. So because of the nature of the subject, skill-based, it will call for a methodology that is good for developing what? A skill. So I'm not going for any method at all, but I'm looking at a method that can help in the development of what? A skill. Behavioral in nature. I'll go for a demonstration method of instruction. Subject matter. We talk about the complexity of the subject matter, the aspect of the subject matter that the lesson is focusing on. Is it about just knowledge? Is it about attitude? Is it about value? Is it about skill development? That is leading us to a method. What again can we say about the subject matter? Let's all bring out issues. We cannot exhaust any particular point, but at least we can say a lot about it. Then, when we have the subject matter, we look at it very well and see what is it communicating to us. What again can we say about the subject matter?
Dog.
Yeah,
We can also say that the complexity of the subject matter will help you to determine your
yes.
pace
I think
of
I think
instruction.
you have addressed complexity.
Okay, so your subject matter will also help you to know your pace of instruction. You know, whether you are going to use just a period, double period, or the whole week to teach the topic or whatever you want to teach.
Let's talk. You said the subject matter will determine the pace of instruction. I'm a bit lost. What aspect of the subject matter? Be so specific. What aspect of the subject matter will inform the pace of the lesson?
Your content.
What aspect of the content? Content on one subject matter. No. What aspect of the content will? Because I want you to pick on something in particular in the subject matter, just like you pick complexity, right? So that is an aspect. You are so specific. So now don't say content. Pick something in the content and then link it to your pacing issue. Are you following me?
Look, my network went off briefly. You said I should pick.
Pick something in particular, just like you said the complexity. Pick another thing in particular in the subject matter. Are you up again? Hello.
Hi.
Yes, dog.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Uh-huh. What you are saying is it's either I don't understand or I'm confused because I thought maybe if I am teaching a topic in mathematics, like
Mm-hmm.
let's say differentiation, and looking at how complex it is, I cannot use just a period or maybe a double period to teach. So I'll use the my pace of instruction will be determined by how difficult, I don't want to use the word complex, how difficult the topic is. So if I'm in a class, I have mathematics 3 times a week. So looking at this, I will just teach differentiation the whole week. That is what I want to communicate. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong.
Okay, so pace of instruction is different from instructional time. So when we talk about pace, we are looking at the frequency in your delivery. How fast are you talking? That is pacing. That is different from instructional time. So some teachers, when they come to class, they talk very fast. So that is pacing. The frequency in delivery. How fast? That is pacing. But if you are talking about a whole week teaching, it is not pacing. Then it means you are talking about time allotted to that particular subject in a week. That is time. So are you talking about pacing or you are talking about time allocation? Let me understand you.
Then I'm talking about the two.
Pick one and let's talk. Pick one.
Okay,
Pick
so
one and then we finish that we talk another one.
okay, so if it is about the pacing, you know, sometimes the lesson will be 45 minutes, but some teachers or some of us can just use 10 to 15 minutes. You know, some of us we do talk very fast. So the pacing, as you are saying, well, the subject matter will also help, just like how you teach us. You know, sometimes you are a bit slow for us to get it. Sometimes you move very fast and all that. So I think the subject matter will also help you to know whether you should move faster or slower for the learners to understand.
Don't think so. This is much more of the pacing. The pacing is much of also what a strategy of the teacher. It is part of the strategy of the teacher, right? So sometimes I intentionally talk fast and slow, depending on what I'm saying, how important it is, how complex it is, where I need to relax for them to get to the issue before I see them again. So in a class, all these dynamics are there. At a point, you want to slow the lesson because they might get something in particular. Once they get it, you can speed them. All right. So now we are talking about a strategy and as whether we are speeding them in a lesson. All we are saying is in a lesson, in a lesson, because you select a method to instruct a lesson and not lesson. And so that is why I'm not talking about lesson. I'm talking about a lesson. So if I think what I'm teaching is so complex or I'm providing some kind of fundamental knowledge that they need to grasp the fundamental knowledge before they can make progress, I don't think my pacing will be so fast. Okay, I don't think my pacing will be so fast. So we are still linking the pacing of the teacher, all right, to the complexity of the subject matter. So still on complexity. If you
Hello,
talk
sir.
about time, hello, just a minute, just a minute. William, I'll call you. Okay. If you talk about time, then time has got nothing to do with the subject matter, right? Time has got to do with instructional resources. Because time is a resource. You never told me. Time is a resource. And so if I do not have enough time allotted to the subject matter or to the teaching of the what subject time, then possibly it will also call for methods, well, in that case, methods that involve students will delay. Methods that involve students, all right, will require a lot of time. Because the students must do a lot to understand. If we don't have time, we cannot. That is why even in the university, we say we lecture in the university. Because in the university, you are dealing with a large class. A large class that if you allow each and every student to talk in the class, you cannot finish your content. And so that is why that notion of lecture. And so you come and give a direct instruction and you expect your learners to go after your instruction. to search out for more information, to learn more. So time then becomes an instructional resource, not the subject matter. So rather, if you are focused on the subject matter, then you are looking at the voluminous nature of the subject matter. Content to be taught are so much. That is then your focus. All right. In that case, you will have to look at methods that will disengage the learners a bit in order to complete the content. So it's like I'm supposed to disengage you a bit, right? That is why sometimes I want to go faster and talk more, because if I allow most of you to talk, I'll not be able to finish. So sometimes I want to disengage you a bit so that I can move faster through my slides. It is a strategy, right? So I'll go for a method. So talk a lot, talk a lot, talk a lot. So which method makes me talk a lot? Certainly, it will be a direct instruction kind of lesson by way of a lecture. I hope you're following what I'm saying.
Yes, though.
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, William, you can talk.
Okay, sir. About the subject matter, if you look at, if the subject matter requires that students will have to practice what you are going to do, they have to have hands-on. Then you go by the demonstration method so that everybody will involve and they will do it for you, do it, and they will also do it for you to see.
Good. Good.
But
This
can
is
I
very
say
clear.
something?
Yes, Lizzie, you can say something.
I also wanted to say something similar to what Mr. William just said, that if the content is a practical something, then you need to take the what do you call the group, is it discussion method or demonstration, like I said, so that at the end of the day they don't just get the knowledge you want them to get, but they even get certain values like teamwork and all that.
Teamwork.
Yes, sir.
So you see, if you are looking at the standard based class, they are talking about teamwork skills and all that. So someone tells me I want to build teamwork skills, teamwork among my learners. The person goes to class and nobody is put in a group to work in collaboration. Then they tell me that they are built teamwork skills. I don't get it. You get a point. So if our focus is to develop teamwork, right? Are you with me,
Yes, sir. I'm
Lily?
here. Yes, please.
If it is to develop teamwork, then that is your target. Is that not so?
Sir.
You are going to teach and you want to develop teamwork skills. Is that not your target?
Yes, please.
That is your target. That becomes purpose. Purpose. So in this particular lesson, what is your purpose? What do you want to achieve? You want to develop teamwork skills, right? What methodology will help you to do that? So you put students in groups. So use the group method. Now, when you use the group method, it does not mean automatically when they go into group discussion, they develop teamwork skills. Now, it calls for in the group, what are they doing in the group? What specific tasks are they executing in the group? That will allow them to develop the teamwork skills. The work of the teacher comes in technique. Because some people can go into group, they will not learn anything. So what are you doing then in the group? I hope we are following.
Yes,
So
please.
what you are doing is not difficult, but this is the science of teaching. So that A teacher will not get up and say that, oh, I feel like I'm going to do a discussion method. Oh, I feel like it's not a sentimental or classroom or lesson. You must know why you are doing what. So when I hear a teacher say, oh, today you're control note, what is influencing the writing of the note? What kind of factor is that? It's not writing a part of teaching. Not writing is not teaching. But I can teach without giving notes. So not writing there, number teaching will cry. Now, this digital word too, must be talk about note writing. A digital word like this. No. All right, let's go to the learner. So we've said something about subject matter. We said something about purpose. Format said something about instructional resources by time. Let's talk more about learner. Maybe we pick one again on instructional resource and then we are good to go. Learner. Hey, so it's Anita there. All right, let's hear from Catherine.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello. Please, the learners influence the methods that the teacher chooses, in the sense that the teacher will have to consider the learning needs of the child, of the learners, as well as their previous knowledge or what they know about the subject matter to be taught, in order for the teacher to know the right method to choose to help them to develop the skills and then the knowledge the teacher wants them to get. So I think that is how the learner influence the teacher.
So what I said is right. So now can you give us a specific example?
Let's say the teacher maybe is teaching, let's say, mischiefs. Okay, so considering the level of the learners, and then maybe with their, let's say in their various houses, they do tea and those things, then it's also a form of mischief. So with that knowledge, the teacher will now determine the right method to choose.
I want you to choose a method. I want you to be specific. Say, this one, because of this and this, I'll choose this method. Because of this and this of the learner, I'll choose that method. Because of this and that of the learner, I'll go by this. I want you to choose for me.
Okay, so let's say separation of mixture. The teacher can choose demonstration for the learner to mistakes.
Separation of mixture is not of the learner. We are on the learner. So I want you to say something about the learner that is making you to pick a method.
Okay, maybe say it's like I'm getting.
Don't get confused because you have now what you have said now. Separating of a mixture. Okay. This is not of a learner. It can take me back to content.
Yeah, separating of the mixture is the content the teacher wants to teach. So because of the level of the learner.
Look at it's also good. So now you are looking at the level of the learner in terms of the way you put the sentence, so that will take my focus.
Okay.
You get it? So now the focus must be on in your discussion, your focus must be on the learner. For this particular factor, the learner factor. Let that learner factor take the discussion to lead us to a message.
Um, so please,
Doc,
like with the, okay. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to help with what she was saying.
All right. So how
They,
far?
they have the learners already have this knowledge. Like she said, they prepare tea at home and then they soak gari, which is also a type of mixture, a form of mixture. So with this, with what they already know,
So the
they
factor
can
is
use
that
the demonstration.
not just demonstration. The factor is that the learners are coming with rich experiences. Rich experiences. Okay, if they learn something, it's something of them. It's a characteristic of them. So I wanted her to stress that, but because she confused the whole discussion, I don't want to think for her. So what she was saying in terms of the factor is they are rich background experience. That's why she said that they have been making tea. So if they have been making tea, they know about mixture. So what they know is their characteristic. So in that case, they are coming to your class, to your lesson, with rich experiences, right? So if they are coming with rich experiences, they have knowledge, they have ideas about what you are going to teach. It means you have to use a method that exploits their ideas. So then ask, what methods will draw their ideas in the classroom such that the teacher will do less work. The teacher will not talk much in the lesson, right? I will go for a guided discussion for this because they are coming with a rich idea. In such a class, I'll go for a guided discussion. I don't need to talk a lot. I need to save my breath. They will do all the talking because they are coming in with what? Rich knowledge, background knowledge. You get the point. It's not always that we come to class with two teachers and teachers. Sometimes you also Madiano. So you only let them. I can use a questioning in this class. In this case, that I use only questioning, and I'll achieve my purpose. I will achieve my purpose. And so, by what we said is background knowledge of the learner. Good. Can we have another factor of the learner that would drive the selection of what a methodology? Learner.
Now, please,
Don't
the
you think that
IQ level.
IQ level? Good. So let's go. Let's go.
Now, please, some of the students or learners in our class have, they are fast learners. Others,
Mhm,
others are slower than the faster ones. And so, if you
mhm.
want to adopt a, a method to teach them, I think you have to consider all these groups of students that you have or learners that you have in your class so as to meet the needs of all of them and not one particular group.
Good.
So,
Yes.
for instance,
For instance, that's what I'm interested. Uh-huh.
for instance, in in a class where your learners are slow learners, that they hardly get whatever you are teaching at a spot or on the spot, then you have to involve them a lot by teaching maybe the child-centered learning method so that they can do it and come out with what do I say? Their learning experiences will help them to get the content you are trying to teach.
So I am looking at you said they are slow learners. Slow
Yes,
learners.
please.
So I'm looking at the methodology that will address their slow nature. I didn't really get the selection very well.
I was
You said
saying
they are
that
slow learners.
you have to
So
give them activities that they themselves will would come out with the word is what I'm trying to get, but you engage them more.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that they will be
So you
able
are
to.
now that I'm understanding.
Uh-huh.
So because
So
of
you.
their slow nature,
Mhm.
it requires for more engagement
Yes, please.
in classroom activities. Yeah, now
Yes,
I'm
please.
following. Because I'm trying to look at the two sides. So I look at the factor very well, the what is and how it is leading to the methodology. That is nti mepɛ sɛ mobɛka no wenya na ɛbɛbi wɔ m'ani so daabi da mepɛ de nan baara mpɛ sɛ bɛfa m'ani so koraa.
Nti ɛno na maka no.
Alright, mate paa why. Okay, what again? You have learned that they lack interest in your class. It's also part of them. They lack interest in class. In such a class, I'll use a lot of what strategy. I can pair humor. So I can use a lot of humor in such a class. I can use a lot of humor because that is only the only thing that will evoke interest in them. I can use a lot of humor. So my use of humor is based on their interest. In some classes I teach, I hardly use humor because of discipline, focus, so you're cut straight to the matter. In some classes, I have to use a lot of humor to get them on board. And its use of humor is part of strategy. The act of teaching. Plenty. We are plenty. So tomorrow if I say that the learner, the learner factor talk about maybe 5 characteristics of the learner and determine how it will influence the selection of methodology. You then have to get the dimension clear about the learner and lead that specific dimension or attribute of the learner through a methodology, a particular methodology. Okay, you draw the sana or math the form, but all link it to a specific thing. Then now I get it, just like the way I'm teaching. Can we get the last thing about the learner? Then we can go to instructional resources.
Doc,
Yes, that's right.
learners learning style or the
They
learning
are
style.
learning style.
So, for
Good.
instance, we have auditory learners, the visual learners, and the kinesthetic learners. So,
Mhm.
you have a class which is dominated with auditory learners. And in case you are teaching a concept in social studies, colonization, you can use a method known as the storytelling to deliver your message because the auditory learners dominate more in the classroom. Through the storytelling approach, it will help facilitate your learning.
Good,
Thank you.
good. So I like the way you did the linking. Good. But let me play the devil's advocate. So what about those that are visual and also you spoke about the auditory. So what about the visual and kinesthetic learners that form the minority in your class? What happens to them?
Okay, look, with the visual learners, if they dominate in the classroom, it depends on um, the content you are teaching, or the subject matter also counts here. But let's take the visual learners. In case you are teaching a topic in science known as simple machines. Simple machines, we have types of them. We have screws, we have inclined plane, we have levers and the rest. So you can take, if they dominate more in the classroom and you want to go by visual method, you can use slides with pictures or images as part of your teaching, where you would make samples, or you can teach with more pictures in the class of the machines or the simple machines you want to talk about. You can have pictures of them so that once you reach any type you want to teach, they have it in front of them. They discuss about it.
Oh, good. So you can use multiple strategies. You see, that I wanted you to stress that because you cannot lead any child because you are teaching a child, a student, a learner, and not a learner. And so no one can be left or no one should be left in the classroom. And so yes, if somebody is dominating, you have a dominant method you are using in the classroom. But there must be other methods that are also helping to deal with the minority group. That is why when you went by dominant, I want to see how the minority in the class are also catered for. We cannot leave anybody behind. And so we can use multiple strategies or methods in the classroom to cater for every specific need. So you are doing your storytelling, fine. What about those that are not too okay with what? Hearing a lot. What do you do to them? What are those people that they also like to do things a lot with their hands? What are you doing to them? You must factor all this in your instruction. Then your methodology is working. Good. Let's go to instructional resources.
Doc, before that, I want to ask a question. What of the
Go ahead.
learner's background?
Yes, so what background are you talking about? Is it background
So,
knowledge?
no. As in their cultural background, like the
They are
example
cultural
you gave.
background.
Sorry,
Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead.
like the example you gave that the lady wasn't comfortable with the word that the law lecturer was using. So you consider that, such terms, we have certain jargons that we use in describing them. So I think in selecting your methodology, you look at your learner's background in terms of their culture, where they are coming from. Some certain words will not make some of them comfortable. So you need to find a nice way in communicating based on the example that you gave.
Yes. So this is so now. But now, what you have said, you have linked character to language. Is that not so?
Let's go.
You have linked character to language. Everything in the classroom is language. So this one is generic. Is generic that we say everything okay of us in the classroom is language. So it is generic. And so this must automatically be determined. But if you link, because I don't want to say language is pedagogy. No, language is not pedagogy. Language is not pedagogy. So if you link their cultural knowledge to methodology, then I'll be okay. And I know you can do that job for me because everything is language. But you can link the cultural knowledge to pedagogy. Don't we have teachers that at times what they want to teach, they can use inquiry method to ask the learners to rather go into their characters to bring out certain information from their characters because of what they know or because of the background of what the cultural background of what they're learning. Is it not possible like that?
It is.
Uh-huh. So that is it. And that alone, the cultural knowledge alone, can form part of what? Their background knowledge. And that will also tell us whether we should engage them into what? An interrogation into their culture. We should engage them into a discussion into their culture or whatsoever to select what methodology. All right, that's good. Instructional resources. Felicia, I said, why do you too much? Mommy, to voice kaka. Is Felicia with us? Felicia, I now Korean requirement. Okay, the graph. Ofori. The graph. Why? I did virtual learning. More virtual than others. The graph is missing. Anita T is missing. Okay, Pama, let me hear your voice. That discuss now some key players video. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Yes. Pama, oh,
No, I'm here. Like I'm thinking about it.
so, oh, Mama Trota. Oh, Mama Trota.
Oh, oh, dog, I've been
It's
answering
about
questions. So
it's about yeah, with the answer we want one. If I think the young point, the ones are young point there. You know what I say?
no, availability of instructional materials will also help with the methods that you are going
Availability.
to choose.
That is it. Availability. So let availability link up to your message.
So if you are teaching something that requires practical things, okay, like the mixtures that Madam Kate spoke about. So availability of materials that you are going to use in this mixtures, the let's say water, sand, the measuring cylinder and all that, if they are available, they will help you to know the method you are going to use. If not, then you can even use visuals. You just show it on the computer or TV for them to know.
It's simple. Very simple. Very simple. Very simple. So that if they are not available, you are now using maybe pedagogical. You employ some pedagogical, technological or teaching. That's it. It is some management textbook, a case in it that you want the students to address in class. Because in your class, it's case analysis. The books are not available in large quantity, but every student must get access to the case. So call for me putting some students into groups. In that case, every group will have a copy of the case. But they must all look at the case at the same time as it is being analyzed. But the book that contains the case is not enough for everything. And so, how do I make it available and accessible to all of them at the same time? It's a time okay, the group of me a group we munje back, group we munje back, group we another beboa. I'm a matter my day. Very simple. Availability. What again? Last one. Who is helping us? Edward. Last one so that we can finish on this particular slide. Yakawa.
Yes, Doc. With instructional resources, we can consider time, as you said earlier on, and
Yeah.
the duration of the lesson also matters in choosing your methodology. For instance, if you have a short duration, like 25 minutes or 20 minutes, you can go by the questioning method, where you can also select either open-ended question or closed-ended question to complete your lesson for the day.
So you have short time and you are going with open-ended question. You may be in there, you may be in the society, maybe you're not time to answer. So limited time in relation to what? Limited time in relation to
Close-ended questions.
No, how can limited time be in relation to close-ended questions? What are you using the time for?
Doc, the time is, I'm basing on the time as an instructional resource.
And I get it. And I'm saying, what are you using the time for? I get your dimension. Instructional resources, you are taking on time. Perfect. What are you using the time for? I want us to develop the knowledge together. That's what I'm asking. What are you using the time for? Because if you are linking the time to close-ended questions, that is no problem. Or open-ended questions, my problem. So my question is, Simon, what are you using for?
The time here is the delivering time for teaching the lesson.
Yes, delivering time. What are you using the delivering time for? Is it in relation to voluminous content? Like it's in relation to what? Did you get my question?
Okay.
It must be in relation to something. Then it will then let me know whether the methodology is correct.
Or not.
So when you said the question, your question and answer, I didn't get it because I didn't know what the time is related to.
Okay.
And that is why you went for open, and then I was like, then open and then started say a bit maybe outside, you know. Open and then gives a lot of words people to demonstrate their ideas, their knowledge, and they must be allowed to. They must be allowed to. This can take so much time in our classroom. It will take so much time. And so I put a question mark against the time again. So if it is in relation to content delivery, now we have limited time to deliver our content, then it will easily tell me a message that will not be one confusing. Edward, I hope you are good with me.
Yes, Doc. I'm cool.
Right, great. You have done a lot, so I know you will read more. Purpose about. Yes.
On the instructional material. So, what of teachers' knowledge about the instructional materials he or she is going to use? Because let's say you are teaching computing. You are teaching computing and you don't even know how to operate the computer. I will not do practical work. I will just let you take the textbook. Then we read and we explain. So teachers' knowledge too is key when it comes to instructional material.
What is why are they? What is your mom came out and and for one, okay, your mom came
There be
out.
any oh
And
there
you
be I don't
cry.
any yeah
Uh-huh.
any.
So after the teacher is assumed to have what? The knowledge. That is why the teacher is what? The teacher for that subject. Instead of say into computer, you must have the knowledge. Other than that, then you are not a subject teacher. Because the subject teacher is must know your area. That is when you become a subject teacher. Uh-huh. And so we don't want to consider teacher knowledge as fact. Uh-huh. Because the teacher is a professional. It's a licensed teacher. And so that licensed teacher, when that licensed teacher is going to teach, what should that licensed teacher do in relation to prevailing factors such as subject matter, learner, instructional resources, and purpose, and not something that the subject or the professional subject teacher is lacking. No, teacher or knowledge it's not a teacher. I hope you get my point.
Dog, this one I beg to differ. So even in if you are, let's say you are teaching management, at least you have a topic that you are not too good in. You,
That is why
you
we talk
yeah.
about instructional resources. Instructional resources. You are teaching law of contract. Okay. By availability of instructional resources, you have a friend that is a lawyer. So because your friend is in, so I'm not looking at you the teacher. As your resource, your friend is a lawyer. You are teaching law of contract. Your friend is available to easily what? Make the lessons practical for your learners to understand. You will go for that your friend, the lawyer, to come and help you to deliver your lesson. It's a resource. But I don't want the explanation that you don't know. Hey, and I open the course now myself as well. I don't want the explanation you don't know. That is why if you don't know, you read. I said it at the beginning. Teacher preparation. If you don't know, you read. So if you're here in the university, you are a doctor, and they'll give you a course. You tell university management that you can't teach. Oh, you can't say you can't teach, or you don't know. You read. So you go and read. So I started the whole discussion that in terms of teacher preparation, first of all, you must read to know. And so that becomes basic. It becomes basic. It becomes generic. That is why I will not consider that as a factor. Other than that, then you are not a teacher for that particular subject. What makes you a teacher is that you are qualified. Qualified means that you possess both what content knowledge and pedagogical knowledge. Then how do you come and tell me that you don't know again? You can't tell me. Every teacher is a learning specialist. Every teacher is a learning specialist. And so once you are learning specialist, you must know the content. If you don't know, you read. You will know. Do you get me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so that is it. So don't let us, other than that, then every topic say you don't know, so you don't know, you do this, you don't know, you don't know. No, 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 no. And that we don't look at it that way. We don't look at it that way. If the topic you don't know, you learn. So you teach it. Other than that, you are not a teacher. All right. I think we can make progress. All right. Let's look at types of teaching methods. We have about 10 minutes to 4 o'clock. We'll finish with it. And then, God willing, when we meet, we look at specific methods. Specific methods. And then when we are done, so and we'll have a meeting. And then, is it our final week for the model?
Yes, please. I think that's it. We are writing quiz. Oh.
Exactly.
Yes,
But
Doc.
we will need to have a meeting because of the issues we had last week and I think last week. So we still have to have an arrangement to
And then we
address
are
some
like
of it.
we schedule one.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. So types of teaching methods. You know this. So the methods are broadly classified under teacher-centered, learner-centered, content-focused, interactive, or participative method. So in actual fact, it is three because the interactive or participative method is not a unique classification. It is not a unique classification. So the major classifications are teacher, learner, content focus. In the teacher-centered classification, teaching is centered on an authority, on the teacher, with the view that whatever that must be taught requires expertise, requires authoritative knowledge. And so the teacher is allowed to play much of what or execute much of the classroom activities. Possibly because the subject matter requires authoritative knowledge. And that is why subject matters like principle, a theory, standard, requires authority to teach these things. And so it doesn't require some kind of deliberation, discussion, interaction. And so it is delivered through the teacher or the direct form of what instruction. However, there are some content areas that calls for learner engagement. And it is believed that as learners do more, they get to know more. In such areas, then we expect learners to take the center stage of the class. So in a learner-centered method or classification, learning is focused on the learner rather than the teacher, with the learner as the center of the class or the lesson. And we have the method. I know you know, I don't want to worry myself with the method. Then we have the content focused method. With the content focus, teaching does not respect either the teacher or the learner. It does not respect the teacher, it does not respect the learner. But that intrinsic value, skill, knowledge, attitude, that must be acquired from the content for progression. That must be acquired from the content for progression. Meaning that if it is not acquired, it becomes difficult for progression, for the learner to progress. The content is seen as sacred, sacrosanct, sacrilegious, that The learner and the teacher must respect it. For example, your program you are reading. Are you reading something like document processing?
Yes,
Hello?
please. Yes, please.
You're reading document processing.
Please.
Good.
Yes,
Now
please.
let's see something about this course that makes it content focused. They tell you that as part of the goal of the course, you should be able to type 40 words per minute. 40 words per minute. In typing 40 words per minute, it is a bigger scale. Some of us, we have typed 40 words per minute, you need to type it. 1 minute, we will, but maybe 1 minute, can I type it 3 words and a 4 words? I'm telling you. So that is, if you are employed as a manager of an secretary of an organization, don't you think that you will not be able to produce documents for managers because the typing speed is so low? So how do we develop that a skill? 40 words per minute. It's a whole lot of work. First, for any learner to type 40 words per minute, first of all, the learner must understand the layout of the keyboard. Second, the learner must understand all the keys on the keyboard. The function keys, the numeric keys, and whatever key. The learner must know the home key. Which finger must press a particular key so that the learner doesn't move the left finger, that the left finger, the small left finger, that's for A, then the learner moves it from the left side of the keyboard to come and type something at the right side. Please, that is not a perfect way of learning how to type. So, which finger must touch a particular key? Good. That then the learner must know how to type words. You do sentence you words. 2-letter words, 4-letter words. That done, the learner must be able to type sentences. When the learner is able to type sentences, before we can talk about speech. So you see, every step in getting to speed is important. Well, if you miss one, you will not get to what? The level of the speed. You will not get there to talk about speed. It is so important that you must not miss every step. Some of our teaching, we can't miss every step. Once you miss it, the learner will not understand whatever you are teaching again. It becomes content focused. It's not the teacher, it's not the learner. It is the content. And so, when the learner is not able to catch up, that is why we have what we call branch instruction. The learner is separated from the class and given a remedial class outside to catch up with the main class. Once they acquire the sub competencies that they were missing, now they can join the main class to continue. But if they are not given separated instructions by way of branch instructions, and they are left with the main class, they die in the class. So some are far ahead because what we are doing, if they are there, they become idle. They don't know what to do. Because the content is so important that once they have made something, they can continue. This is content focused. And I'm giving you an example of what branch instruction. And so when we are teaching, we need to actually check what we are teaching to see. There are some things that if they don't get, they can continue and later come back to it. There are some things they cannot continue. They can't. How do you teach a principle when it is much content focused? And you tell the learner, you later you come and understand the principle. How? Nah, we don't do that. So when we are teaching our principles, we are teaching our standards and things. It is highly content focused that we need to take our time and let them get it so that they can make progress in our classes. Other than that, we are killing them. You are killing them slowly. All right, other questions for me. The last method of classification looks at what? Combining any of the first three. So it can be teacher-centered, learner-centered. It can be teacher-centered, learner-centered, content-focused. It can be learner-centered, content-focused. Once we combine any of them, we call it interactive or participative method. So in a class, I can have a letter discussion. So we can have a letter discussion method of teaching. Letter discussion, meaning I combine teacher-centered and learner-centered in one lesson. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Hello.
Yes, so
No, please,
no
I
question.
don't have a question.
All right. So if you don't have a question, I think we can end here. 4 hours is no joke. We will have to meet because we need to address certain things in the course of. We cannot end the course here. We need to address certain things. And so you let's end here. We will meet and address all these issues. On this call, I think you can take the rest of the day for yourself, and then we will have some discussions on the page, and I'll provide you with some documents as well, so that for learner preparation, learner plan preparation, and all that. So that I'll briefly take you through before we end the call. All right, thank you very much for coming. Enjoy the rest of the day, and then have a pleasant week. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you too.